Welcome to Weirdly Medieval. So here's how it works. Every week we're going to be bringing you a new story from the Middle Ages. Now these are stories that are a little bit weird, a little bit wacky, a little bit gross, and a whole lot of fun. Think of it like a history hot tip, except instead of one sentence, I'm going to be giving you like 60 seconds of fun medieval history, from animals in courtrooms to shoes that could trip you from across the street toilet towers with a view, and people who danced until they dropped. We have a blast learning about all the crazy things that happened during the Middle Ages. And if you like this content, please do share for more history, for more fun facts, and for more stories from the Middle Ages. Because who doesn't love a good medieval story? Now sit back, relax, and get ready to learn all the crazy things that happened during the Middle Ages. Because here at Weirdly Medieval, we're all about one thing: having a good time. And what's a better way to have a good time than learning about history? What would you do if you were a medieval judge and your court case involved a pig? Believe it or not, medieval courts sometimes put animals on trial. This wasn't a joke, it was serious. A pig could be accused of biting someone or destroying their crops. And if found guilty, the pig would be fined, sometimes publicly executed. Other animals, like rats and even insects, could also be put on trial for similar reasons. Why did medieval law allow this? Well, medieval legal systems mixed religious beliefs with ideas about morality and order. People believed that society had to be kept in order, even if that meant prosecuting a pig. To them, animals committing crimes was a serious issue. They believed that animals had to be held accountable for their actions, just like humans. This may sound bizarre to us today, but to them it made perfect sense. After all, they were simply trying to apply the rules consistently, even if the defendant had hooves. Welcome to my channel. This is one of the most disgusting facts about medieval castles. When you visited a castle, you had to climb a long, winding staircase called the Toilet Tower. And at the top of the tower, you would find the royal throne room, complete with a view of the castle's outer wall. But be careful, because if you leaned too far forward, you might fall into the moat. Yikes. Castles were built with a small stone chamber called a garderobe. This was a medieval toilet. Waste would drop straight down into the moat, which often doubled as an open-air sewer. I'm sorry, but those are some pretty stinky facts. On the bright side, garderobes also doubled as storage rooms for clothes. Apparently, the ammonia from the waste kept moths away. So that's one way to make your castle smell better. But don't forget, medieval architects were some of the most ingenious people of their time, but also a little bit disgusting. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Speaking of disgusting, or perhaps fabulous, let's talk about fashion. Medieval style wasn't just practical. It was a way to show off your status, and sometimes that went to extremes. Take the famous poulaines, those long pointed shoes with toes so long they could stretch over a foot in front of you. Some nobles tied them to their shins just to walk properly. Imagine trying to run away from danger in those then. There were the tall cone-shaped hats known as hennins, worn by noble ladies. Add a flowing veil, and you look like a glamorous medieval traffic cone. But it wasn't just about looks. It was also about showing off your wealth and rank. And if you dressed too fancy for your class, well, you would get in trouble with the fashion police. There were even laws controlling what commoners could wear. So next time you're tempted to judge someone's outfit, just remember they might be trying to save their life. Or maybe they just really like that hat. Life in the Middle Ages was not easy. People were constantly in danger of death from disease, famine, or war. And when they died horribly. So, to escape the grim reality of medieval life, some people turned to religion. They believed that if they suffered enough, God would have mercy on them and spare their lives. So they whipped themselves, sometimes to the point of death. And these weren't just ordinary people. These were members of religious orders who took their devotion to the extreme. They called themselves the Flagellants, and their extreme rituals shocked the onlookers. While some people supported them, others thought they were stirring up needless chaos and even killed several of them. But the Flagellants continued to march and whip themselves through the streets until the plague ran its course and people forgot about them. For more gruesome history, stay tuned. The Middle Ages were a time of great scientific minds, but they were also a bit creative. Of course, medicine was another place where the Middle Ages got very creative. Doctors believed that health depended on balancing the four humours: blood, phlegm, black bile, and yellow bile. If you were sick, treatments aimed to rebalance you. That could mean bloodletting with leeches, or purging with strong herbs, or applying strange poultices. Some remedies were downright strange. Powdered gemstones, potions with bits of animals, or charms to wear against disease. Magic and medicine often mixed together. One cure involved placing bread under your armpit, then feeding it to a dog to transfer the sickness. Poor dog. While much of this seems silly now, not everything was nonsense. Herbal knowledge sometimes worked. Plants like garlic and honey had real healing properties. But overall, medieval medicine was a mix of science, superstition, and sheer guesswork. Have you ever heard of the dancing plagues? No, not the plague, the dancing plagues. It's a real thing that happened in 1518 in cities like Strasbourg. Imagine you in the middle of a busy street, when suddenly a group of people start dancing uncontrollably. They're sweating, they're exhausted, but they won't stop. And then some of them just collapse right there in the street. That's what happened during the dancing plague. And some people even died from exhaustion. It's a mystery that historians still debate today. Was it stress and mass hysteria? Was it poisoned grain? Or were these people just caught up in the crowd and couldn't stop dancing? Whatever the reason, it's a bizarre spectacle that reminds us of how wild and crazy history can be. So next time you're feeling stressed, just remember, it could be worse. You could be in the middle of a plague and dancing yourself to death. That would be the worst. In the Middle Ages, they had these things called trials and ordeals. And then there's justice, medieval style. Besides animal trials, people sometimes faced trial by ordeal, where they'd plunge their hand into boiling water or carry a red-hot iron. If their wounds healed cleanly, they were declared innocent. If not, a good luck. Other disputes were settled with trial by combat, where two people would literally fight it out in the street. Because obviously, God would favor the righteous. Now, was this fair? Probably not. Was it dramatic? Absolutely. Justice in the Middle Ages was less about evidence and more about spectacle. So next time someone tries to cancel you, just tell them to bring their A game. After all, you've got a whole court to impress. Life in the Middle Ages was tough, but it had its perks. For one, there were animals everywhere, and I don't mean just cats and dogs. We're talking exotic pets like leopards, monkeys, and parrots. These were the Instagram pets of the nobility. They loved to show off their tiny lapdogs to a small price to pay for fashion. And it wasn't just the big cats and fancy dogs that were popular. People of all social classes kept their homes filled with quirky charms. They buried bottles in their walls to keep out evil spirits. They wore amulets to protect their babies. And they passed down strange household tools from generation to generation. It was a time when the line between the ordinary and the magical was blurred, and that's what made life in the Middle Ages so enchanting. For more whimsical history, stay tuned. Did you know that during the Middle Ages, pigs went on trial for their lives? Yep, you heard that right. In 1478, a pig was put on trial for the crime of being a pig. Apparently, it had escaped its pen and was rooting around in the town of Windsor, England, looking for food. But it was caught and brought to justice. The pig's defense attorney argued that pigs are by nature innocent, and that this particular pig had been provoked by the smell of roasting meat. The judge, however, was not impressed and sentenced the pig to be hanged. Luckily, the sentence was commuted to exile, and the pig lived out its days in a monastery where it was fed and watered and generally well taken care of. Want to hear more hilarious tales from history's weirder side? Stay tuned for more information.